me conocen, me presento rápidamente. Me llamo Ana. Soy nueva al equipo de los auxiliares de conversación. Como sabéis, hemos estado estos varios días ya en secciones para todos vosotros y lo han preparado todos los auxiliares nuestros del tercer año. Y como siempre, esperamos que lo encontréis útil e interesantes. Y ahora os paso a Claire, que estuvo trabajando mucho con ellos sobre este tema. Claire, welcome again. Nice to see you. I'll take this moment also to let you know that I have to drop off just a few minutes early. So if you'd like to, take the reins and do the closing statements today, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hi, Anna. Yeah, no, that's fine. Good. Thank you very much for that introduction. Well, just as Anna was saying, and for those of you that haven't been along to the other sessions that we've been doing this last couple of weeks, the assistants who are going to be preparing or doing their sessions today are third-year students who have been with on the Better program now for 3 years. And this year they were going to be doing a voluntary activity for a school, which in the end they couldn't do it because of the pandemic that we're all living at the moment. So we thought that it might be a nice idea to offer it up to all the coordinators and teachers for them to perhaps use in their own classes, and also to perhaps show new assistants that come to their schools this year. The sessions are being filmed or recorded, so you can actually ask the Better team for a copy of the recording if you'd like. And also all the information about all of the different sessions that we're going to be doing today, and also the ones that we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. All the information for those is also available for you as well, actually on documents, or in documents, I should say. So that's there as well. If you'd like to ask for that, then you can all have that as well. Okay. So today's sessions, we've got Taylor, we've got Casey Ann, and we've got AD, and they're going to be doing their activities which they've been preparing since November. In fact, we've been preparing these classes since November. Some of them can be adapted for online classes, which a lot of schools are doing at the moment, and some of them can't. It's just better to wait until we're actually back in class again in September, hopefully. So first off then is Taylor. She's one of my own assistants at my school, and this is her last year with us, and so I'm very sad to see her go. She's very nice, and she's now going to be doing her activity, which is called Identity. So over to you, Taylor.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hi, Claire. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, I am a third-year beta assistant, and I'm excited to be able to share my project with you all. A little bit sad that we can't do this as originally as planned, but we have to roll with the punches and adapt as best as we can. So I normally teach first and second of ESO, and then some third of ESO classes. In the past, I've also taught fourth of ESO and both first and second of Bachillerato. So I thought it would be a good idea to just go ahead and continue planning my project for those age groups. So this could be done for anyone from first of ESO all the way until second of Bachillerato. And so yes, I'll go ahead and start with that. Maybe it would be helpful if I showed you all the slides. Maybe I can share my screen and see if that works. Let me know in a few seconds if you all can see this. It's loading. Okay, so it's on my screen. Let me know if you can see it. Can anybody see?
Ooh.
Okay. So I wasn't originally planning to make a slideshow for my activity to do in the classroom, but I thought that since I was going to be explaining it to you all in a different setting, that it might be helpful to show you some slides. So again, this would be for ESO and Bachillerato. Like Claire said, some of the activities could be adapted for online learning and online teaching. And I decided that although it would be ideal for mine to be done in a traditional in-person classroom setting, that it could also be done online. So if you are teaching your classes online like I am during this time, maybe my idea could be useful to you as well. My classes are about 50 minutes long, 50 minutes to an hour. This would be ideal for that length of a class. But if you wanted to, you could spread it out over the course of 2 different classes. If the students are taking really well to the ideas and they have a lot to say, then by all means, spread it out. It would be good to hear all of their ideas. So I was originally planning to do about a 5-minute introduction with the new class because I wouldn't have met them prior. So I would just introduce myself, tell them that my name is Taylor. It's my 3rd year teaching in Spain, in Madrid in particular. And then I would kind of go into, what would you like to tell me about yourselves? That sort of thing, just a little get to know you. And then I would go into the topic for the day, which is identity. And just a nice little 15-minute discussion talking about what they see as the definition of identity, what they think it means, what it means to them, what kinds of factors influence identity. Is it who we're with? Is it deep down within us? Is it something innate that we're just supposed to be a particular person? Can we be influenced by outside factors like society? Or is our family one to heavily influence us and to shape who we are and how we act? Or could it be more of pop culture, the things that we watch on TV, the music that we listen to, just all of the visual stimuli that comes into us, into our view? And also, being teenagers, they might be interested in celebrities. They might look up to certain celebrities and may want to kind of imitate what kind of clothes they wear or what they do, how they act. And also social media. A lot of my students talk about social media and how they already have their own accounts. So one that popped into my head was Instagram. A lot of influencers use Instagram as their outlet to reach their followers. And TikTok as well is kind of rising in popularity. So a lot of the students have access to those, and I think those could play a part in shaping their identity and how they want to act, how they want to be, how they want to portray themselves, and also how they want to be seen online. And so I have a few different guiding questions to help us through this 15-minute or so discussion. And we wouldn't have to go through every single one of these questions, but they're meant to be there in case you need a new idea, or maybe the students aren't taking so well to one of the questions. No problem, you can move on to the next one. But if they are really interested in a certain question, then by all means, keep going with that question. Don't just skip to the next one because you have a few lined up and ready to go. So I have, what does identity mean to them? What is important to them? What kind of elements play into shaping their identity? And as we know, the teenage years are a time to kind of find out or to really start thinking about who we are, who we want to be. And I think it's just a really great exercise for them to think about it out loud, to discuss it, because a lot of times we may not even do that as teenagers. We're just going through all of these changes and it happens really fast and we get all of this information thrown at us and we have to kind of pick and choose what parts we want to keep and what parts we don't want. The next question is, do traditions and culture play a role in identity? So we're working at Catholic schools and many of the students may be Catholic, but that doesn't mean that all of them are. So maybe they have different customs, different traditions, different religions that could shape their identity. And identity has a lot of different elements to it, a lot of different aspects. One is that it can make you who you are. It can make you an individual. But also you can have an identity in a group setting. So maybe you identify with your soccer team or your football team. You consider yourself a football player, for example. And another guiding question would be, who influences them the most? That could mean maybe the people that are closest to them. It could be their parents. It could be their friends, their older cousin. Or it could be someone in the media. I know that soccer, football is really popular in Spain. So maybe they are looking up to these celebrity athletes and wanting to be like them, or maybe not wanting to be like some of them. If they're really for Real Madrid, maybe they don't want to be like any of the Barca players. I don't know. And another question is, does our identity change throughout our lives? Are we stuck with the same identity? Are we supposed to be this person from the time that we're born until the time that we die? Or are we able to change? Are we able to experiment? Do we adapt as a person depending on the situations we're in? How can we identify ourselves? So like I said, this should be about a 15-minute discussion, and the more students that participate in this discussion, the better, the more interesting. And feel free to use any of these questions or just a few, or to even think of your own questions if you'd like to use this in your own classroom. And after the discussion, I would move into the game, and the game would take about 25 minutes. And I was planning on giving each student a piece of paper with the name of a celebrity on it. So it has to be someone that everybody would know, because then they're going to have to answer yes or no questions, depending on who that person is and how that person would identify. So I think we're all familiar with the game 20 questions. So I would play this as a class, but you would have the option to play this in smaller groups or even in partners. This could work. And if you wanted to do the online version, then instead of you physically giving them a piece of paper with the name of a celebrity, you would just tell them to write down a name of a celebrity of their choosing and to not tell anybody else who they chose. And then what would happen is you would ask for a volunteer to either come up with you to the front if you're in a classroom setting, or just to make it known that they're the volunteer if it's in an online setting. And then the rest of the class would ask them questions to figure out who the celebrity is that they are portraying, that they're assuming the role of. And I think it's fun because it allows the students to step outside of who they are and kind of play a different role. And especially when speaking in a foreign language, speaking in English, this could really help them gain some confidence, because the other students in the class wouldn't be really judging them they would be more focused on, okay, who is this celebrity? I really have to figure out this person. So it kind of lessens the pressure on the student volunteer, I would say. And I think that they would think that this is really fun as well, because they could really get into character and kind of be funny and put on a little bit of a show for the class. And then eventually, before they get to 20 questions, the class would hopefully be able to guess who the celebrity was. And after I thought of playing this game, it reminded me of a game that I used to play when I was younger. And maybe you've also played it before. It's Guess Who. And so this is typically played with just two people, but you can also change this if you're trying to do it in a classroom setting. But what you do is each person has their game pieces. And as you can see in the picture, there are lots of little flaps with people, with lots of different people on them. So you have males, you have females, you have old people, you have young people, you have people with dark hair, people with light hair, with blue eyes, with glasses, with hats, all different types of identities. And it's really great to practice their vocabulary relating to describing people and identities, and also with asking questions. So you would say something like, okay, does your person have glasses? And they would say yes or no. And depending on the answer that you get from them, you would put down the little flaps that don't match the answer that you got. Okay, so if they say, yes, my person is wearing glasses, then you would put down all of the people that aren't wearing glasses. And then eventually you'll get to a point where you just have one flap still up, and then you would ask, okay, is so-and-so your person? Because they have names on them. And so that reminded me of the game that I chose to play in the classroom setting. So it's kind of fun to kind of reminisce on what I used to play as a little kid, and maybe some of you also played that game. So yes, that is the game. And then right before the class ends, I would think, when I have about 5 minutes left, I would just do a quick little closing to find out what they learned and whether they see identity in a different light, or if they have the same opinion, see if they have reflected on their identity in a different way than they have before. And so one of the key messages I want them to come out of the lesson with is to be confident in expressing themselves, but also at the same time accepting others for who they are and how they want to portray themselves, and ultimately just be you. So I thought that could be a fun lesson for teenagers in particular. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. And I hope this lesson could be useful to you. I hope that you can take some ideas from it, or if not, just take the whole lesson and adapt it in a way that's good for you. So yes, thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Taylor. That was great. Yeah, identity is like the thing in teenagers, isn't it? So you've really got it. You've got it there. Lots of nice questions that you gave us to think about as well. So that was really nice.
Thanks.
And you've got a real fairy tale bedroom there, haven't you, where you are?
Yeah, this isn't actually my bedroom, but it is so pink and girly and just lovely.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thanks.
you. Right, so we're now going to move over to Casey Ann, and she's going to be talking about art, I think. So let's see. Hi there. Hi there. Right, so it's all yours.
Thank you, Claire. Hello, everybody. I'm Casey. I am a Jamaican Antiguan assistant here with Beta. This is my 3rd year, and I work at Colegio San Gabriel. My lesson today is going to be about using art to generate conversation and just general speaking practice with kids in ESO and Bachillerato. I've done this activity with kids in 4th of ESO and they really love it, but I also think it would be a great activity for 2nd, 3rd, and the kids in Bachillerato as well. I'm gonna share my screen with you. I think it'll be great if you see the materials that I actually use for a lesson like this, just so you get a concrete idea of what it is that I do. I hope you're able to see my screen. Are you able to see it? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, great. So why did I choose art? I thought it would be a really nice shift from the usual subject matter. With ESL teaching, I think a lot of the times we focus on sports, film, music, pop culture, science, technology. We talk about social issues, topical issues, but seldom art. So I think it's nice to just move away from what the kids usually do. I think it also encourages speaking and personal expression. Art is not something where there's usually a right answer or a wrong answer. It usually comes down to personal opinion, and it's just a matter of perception. It also teaches them new vocabulary. On the next slide, I'll show you some of the vocabulary I like to teach before we go into the actual lesson. I also think visual aids are great for kids who are more visual learners, or even kids who, maybe they're not usually interested in English, but showing them different pictures really helps to generate additional interest. It's practical. I think this is a skill that you can apply to any real world situation, just looking at a picture and being able to talk about that picture and give your opinion on it. Also, a lot of the kids in 4th of ESO and Bachillerato are actually interested in studying art at the university levels and pursuing careers in art. So it's great for them to actually have a subject matter in English class where they can actually be the experts. And I think it's fun. I like to start the lesson with a photo such as this one. There are lots of different photos like this. I know there's one with a sneaker and one with a jacket, but I like this one. So this dress became popular because a woman was supposed to wear it to a wedding. Someone took a photo of it, and because of the lighting, different people see it differently. For me, it's white and gold. I don't know what color you guys see it as. Do you mind telling me? Anybody? Or you can type it in the chat. Okay. White and gold, blue and black, white and gold. For me, it's white and gold. I've been looking at it for years and it's white and gold. So my sister swears it's blue and black, but I like starting with this because a lot of the kids, at least kids that I've taught, they've never seen this photo before. And then they're like, oh, it's white and gold. And someone else says, no, it's blue and black. And they're like, ¿qué dices? And then they get really excited. And I think that's a great way to introduce the lesson and help them to understand that we all literally have different perceptions of things. So I like to start with that, gets them excited. And then I go on to pre-teach the vocabulary. This is some of the vocabulary I like to teach when we're talking about art, words to describe colors, such as bright, brilliant, vivid, cool, warm, words to describe mood. How does this particular piece make you feel? Does it make you feel calm, content, peaceful, relaxed, tranquil, romantic, depressed, gloomy, somber, tearful, dark, violent? I like to talk about viewpoint and pose. Is the subject close up? Is the person standing, sitting, lying down? And of course, the subject matter. What is this piece about? Is it urban? Is it a cityscape? Is it a seascape? Fantasy, imaginary, portrait? And then there's some other vocabulary at the bottom that we use when we're describing a photo. In the background, in the foreground, there is, there are, and we also go over prepositions of place, such as besides, on, next to, in front of, behind, and so on. So I pre-teach the vocabulary, and then I go into the actual lesson. I start by showing them a painting. I like to use one that's very famous because it would be kind of weird if I show a picture and half of the class is like, I've literally never seen this. So I start with something that I think the majority of them have seen, and then using the vocabulary that they would have learned before, we start describing the picture. We start describing the colors, how it makes us feel. We talk about the background. We talk about her expression. Sometimes I ask them what they think she's thinking about, and their answers are always really funny. Sometimes I ask them what they think she's looking at, just to get them speaking about the picture, really. And it's always great to hear what they have to say, even if they're not experts in art. The idea is really just to get them to express themselves. Then I show them this one. I also like to incorporate some Caribbean paintings in the classroom because I think art is such a great way to insert culture into the classroom. So I like to show them this one. It's called Sound of Silence, and it's by a Bayesian painter called Colin Bootman. So I show them this photo, and they usually like it because they're children. It's very bright. It's very colorful. But I like it in particular because they look and they say, what are they doing? And then I explain to them that the kids are playing marbles, and they're like, what is that? And then I get a great chance to teach them a bit about Caribbean culture, that this is a game kids often play in the Caribbean. So art is a great way to teach culture. Then I show them this one, and they get really excited. This is a race. That's Usain Bolt in the background. And then again, they start talking and they get really excited when it's Usain Bolt. Then they ask me if I know him, and I say no. And they say, oh, that's disappointing. And I say, yeah, it is. And then I show them this one, another Caribbean painting. And again, just a great way to teach them about your culture and where you come from. They like pictures like this because they're so colorful, but then they have so many questions. They would ask me, you know, what are the people in the photo doing? I explain to them that this is something that is very typical, especially in the rural areas where people wash their clothes in the river. They ask me, what are those things in her hair? I explain it to them. So it's great because they have so many questions, and you just keep a discussion going. I show them a few more paintings, and I like to show a variety of paintings from different places around the world. This one is American. I show them this one. This one I think is really great for the kids in definitely fourth and batch because a lot of them are familiar with it. They know the painter and they know the story behind it. So that makes for great discussion as well. Something that they are familiar with, and where they can also teach me something because, you know, this is a Spanish painting, and I would have showed them before paintings that are from where I'm from, and I can tell them about that. But now they can tell me about this painting and their culture and their history. So that's great for an exchange of ideas. Then I show them this one. And I like to show them this one by Frida Kahlo because they always have very interesting stories about why she painted that, you know, necklace of thorns around and what she's thinking about. A lot of them also find her life very inspiring. So they like that one. After I show them those paintings, what I like to do next is to show them like sort of like a mini collection. And I like this one. I found it on Google Arts and Culture. It's called Dominica Behind the Scenes. I like it because it is Caribbean and it's a great opportunity to have a discussion about Caribbean history. So these are some of the paintings. And while I'm showing them the paintings, we talk about Dominica. We have a discussion about the indigenous people. They ask me questions, why the people are dressed like that in the photo. And we get to have a really cool discussion about indigenous history in the Caribbean and also colonial history. I like this piece as well because it's something that I'm familiar with. So if they have any questions, I can always answer them because I'm from that place and I know the history and the context. But I think it would also be a good idea to show them a piece that maybe you like, but you're not really sure of the history, and you and the class can discover it together. And again, with art, it's all about perception, really. After I do this, the final activity for a class such as this one would be sort of like a drawing dictation. So I've used this photo before, but you can choose any photo of your liking. And I have the picture, they can't see it. And using the vocabulary that we would have learned, I describe the photo and they have to draw it. And kids love that. They love the idea of like mystery, that they have to draw a photo and they're not sure what it's supposed to look like, but they're excited to see what it's going to look like at the end. So they really like that. I describe it to them and they draw it. And at the end, we look at each other's drawings and compare to see how we all interpreted things and, you know, our skills. Usually after I do it, you'll have other children who would want to do it. So you let them choose a painting that they like and they narrate it to the class. So the objective of this lesson is really twofold. They practice listening with intention to produce something. And then the people who dictate the photo get to practice their speaking. Another activity that you can do with art is a show and tell. You can have them choose a painting that they really like and just bring it to the class in a PowerPoint, or, you know, they can email it to you and you project it on the screen and talk about why they like it. You know, tell us a bit about the painter, the context of it, and what it is that they really like about that painting. That would make for a great activity as well. It is a lot, and I think ideally it would be best to divide it in 2 classes. So you could do the vocabulary and the first activity in one, and then in the next class, you can actually go through a collection and do the show and tell in another one. I'm going to show you some of the resources I like to use when doing an art lesson. The first one is the Gallery of Caribbean Art. This is actually located in Barbados, but they have a wonderful online gallery. And I love it because it's so Caribbean. It's very typical in Caribbean art to just paint things that we do every day. For example, here is one of a cricket match. And again, great for cultural discussion because they'll ask about cricket and I explain the game to them. And because a lot of them don't know about cricket, it's just a totally different ball game, literally, for them. So we get to talk about that. Here's one of a fruit vendor. And here is the one I really liked, which I included in the presentation before, of children playing marbles. Another resource that I quite like is Google Arts and Culture. This website is amazing because they have so many different virtual art exhibitions. They have lots of articles about different museums from around the world. They have lots of information about the artists themselves. So I think this is a great resource, especially now for online teaching. If you want to do like a virtual tour of a museum, definitely great. I also like the National Gallery has a virtual tour of some of the rooms in their museum. I hope you can see me navigating. I know sometimes it lags, and you can actually scroll and zoom in on the photos, on the paintings, as if you were actually there. So that's really cool. And it's Renaissance art for kids who are particularly interested in history. And the Sistine Chapel also has a virtual tour. You can actually put it up in full screen like that. And they actually allow you to get really close as well. So you can come up really, really close, see that fantastic ceiling right there. So these are all great resources for kids who are interested in art, or kids who are interested in history as well. You know, I think it's great, a great topic for teaching culture. They learn new vocabulary, and the use of visual aids is great. And it's a lesson that you can use both in the classroom and online. I hope you enjoyed. If you would like to get any of these resources, I can just send this slide to Claire and she can share it with you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. That was great. Lovely. Thank you, Casey. That was so interesting. All those lovely pictures as well, those Caribbean pictures. Makes you want to be there, doesn't it? That's what I'm trying to do. Like with my, I'm trying to like put a bit of summer into our lives with my plant at the back. But you did that with all your pictures, so that was great. Thank you very much. Good. So we're going to move on now to AD, okay? And he's going to do his activity for us. Hi there. We'll see you there. And I'll pass over to you. Nice to see you.
Perfect. Nice to see you too. All right. First of all, I need some feedback from everybody because I'm just staring at icons and random letters. And I always tell my students in these online times that show me some signs of life. So I'm going to go through, and I always have these chits of paper with me because I like old school. I don't like too much digital space. It's very inconvenient. So I've got a 6-point plan for all of you in order to carry out this class. First of all, can you see me and can you hear me? If you can see me and can hear me, just type a Y. Y equals a yes. So if everybody can see me and hear me, just type a Y. And if you can't type a Y, then I would assume that you're not in class, you're somewhere else having a siesta or something like that, which you shouldn't be doing, and that would be very naughty. All right, perfect. So since everybody's put in a yes, I know people are there and listening to me. The second one is, I will ask you something to which the answer would be no. So do you know the name of my father, per se? And if you don't know the answer, then obviously you would type an N, which is a no. Now, this is a basic when you ask yes or no questions in class, because I don't know what kind of setups you have with your classes. However, I don't have the luxury as an auxiliar to see all the videos there, and I don't know if they're in the room. So this makes me sort of keep track of who's in the room and who's actually participating. And if they're not participating, I can sort of cheekily nudge the teacher like, oye, mira, este que no está ahí, igual no está en la clase, se ha ido. The third one is, if I ask you a question to which the answer is something like which you know, then you just type IK. Now, this helps when I'm asking a question to the whole class or a small group. And if they just type IK, which means they know the answer, then I individually ask that person the question and they get the opportunity to speak. Vice versa, if they don't know the answer, and this is important because everybody, regardless of whether or not they know the answer, has to type IK or IDK, which means everybody's following and I know that they have understood the question. So for simplicity, I have those two things set up that way. And finally, for sort of doubt resolution or repetitions of content, I'm sorry, Casey, are you there? Could you please turn off your mic, please? There you go. Cheers. Thank you. So for doubt resolution, I've got Q, which is question. If somebody is like, teacher, tengo una pregunta, then you just type Q. It saves time. Nobody needs to type sentences. And finally, if you want me to repeat, then it is CYRT, which is, can you repeat that? So just to sum it up, a yes for a Y for a yes, an N for a no, an IK for a I know, IDK or I don't know, a Q for a question, and a CYRT for can you repeat that? And they don't have to say please because it's implied and it's only written, so we're trying to limit the letters here. Now, I have another question for you, and this might require you to follow the 6-point system and answer me the question. Do you teach different levels? What I mean is, do you teach with multiple classes of ESO, let's say first of ESO and third of ESO, or do you just teach one specific class? If you teach different levels, just type E as in different levels. All right, thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Ra. Thank you, Almudena. Anika, thank you. Okay, if you teach just one level, this should be very straightforward for you because it's a very easy activity. Now, that's the end of the introduction. I'm going to move on into my activity. The name of my activity is World Citizen. It's basically an adaptation of so many projects that different schools do, where groups of students or classes of students are given a country to research upon and then make some sort of a poster or some sort of an obra around it. What I've done is just adapt it to an online class and then break it up in smaller chunks where it's easier for me to deliver it within the given constraints of 20 to 25 minutes that I have in the class. The way it works is very simple. The teacher, if it's a big class of 30, let's say you divide them up in groups. And if there's 6 groups of 5, then each group will be assigned by the teacher, because if you give them the choice, obviously they will be like, no sé qué país, and you just give them a country, and there's some questions that they have to research specifically for. Now, are you following till here? All right, perfect. Carmen, perfect. Ra, perfect. Almudena, thank you very much. Now, thank you, Maria. Thank you, Taylor. Brilliant. I'm going to post a couple of questions, and I will need some people who are here to participate. So I'm just going to randomly choose some people who have responded here. I'm going to choose Carmen San Miguel. I'm going to choose Maria Fontal, and I'm going to choose Almudena. You 3 will be, I'm sorry, but my guinea pigs for these experiments. It's not going to be much. I'm going to give you 2 questions that I'm typing here. Oh, just a second. I'm copying and pasting them. All right, there you go. So in the chat box, you will see 2 questions come up, and those are the questions that I will ask you about your specific country. I will assign you a specific country as well. This is a demo, and these are the first 2 questions of the 15-question list that I go through normally. So the first question is, what do you call the people from this country? And the second one is, where is it? Fairly simple questions, absolutely important to describe people from different places, because a lot of the times we don't know what the people are called from that place. The other day it happened to me. I didn't know what do you call a person from Huelva. And then I figured out, oh my God, it has a Roman connection. So I had to ask one of my friends, and then he told me it used to be called Onuba or something. So those are Onubenses. Simple things that are extremely important to us, but sometimes somehow we forget them. Now, Maria, Almudena, and Carmen. Carmen, your country is going to be, let's say, a country from C. Can you please choose a country from C? Not to put you under pressure. Any country will do, and just type that country from the whole world, whichever country you like. You can choose a country. A country that begins with C, please, Carmen, with the letter C. For example, Colombia. All right, Congo it is, perfect. Almudena, can you please choose a country that begins with the letter A? and just type it in the chat box, whichever it is. Doesn't matter which one it is. Please, in English, if you can. Okay, perfect. Afghanistan. So we've got Congo, we've got Afghanistan. And Maria, can you please choose a country with M that begins with the letter M? M is a difficult country. There's not as many countries that begin with M. Maria, can you hear me? Or is she here? Or is she not here? Well, we'll carry on. I don't think she's here. We'll carry on with Carmen and Almudena. So Carmen, your country is Congo, and Almudena, your country is Afghanistan. Now, the questions are, what do you call the people from this country and where is it? Carmen, if you don't mind, just turn on your microphone and you can answer those two questions to me, but in full sentences. No vale respuestas de una palabra is the same exact pointer that I would give students as well, because it's really important for the students to sort of develop a habit of speaking in full sentences. So Carmen, over to you.
All right. People from Congo are called Congolese.
Okay, perfect.
All right. And Congo is in Africa.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Barry, could I tell you something? Because
yeah.
Africa is not a country. It's something many people think about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a joke.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No. Thank you very much for that. All right. And thanks for participating. Next
Welcome.
is Almudena, Afghanistan.
All right. People from Afghanistan are called Afghans, and Afghanistan is in the south of Asia.
Okay, thank you very much. So it is literally that 7 seconds that it takes to answer those two questions. There's a list of questions that I will share with Claire, and there's the room for improvement of this activity is enormous. This is an example that I would say do in a first or a second ESO class with lower level students of the same class. However, if there's higher level students, let's say as we move towards the fourth of ESOs or the bachilleratos, then I would ask them for questions like these. Now, these are questions. Just a second, I'm going to copy and paste these again. These are questions that perhaps they have taken. It says number 14 and 15 because those two are the last questions. All the questions are sort of in increasing quantities of descriptive language that is used. So the questions are, what are the biggest imports and exports of this country, and what kind of a political system does it employ? These questions need some sort of research behind them, and as a result, the teacher is what comes in here. So before this class is delivered, there is some pre-reading or pre-research that they have to do. You don't have to answer these questions, Carmen and Almudena. Your job today is done. It's fantastic. Thank you very much for helping me out. And these are the questions that you ask somebody who has a decent command of English, who has that country given to him, or by choice if you give them the choice to decide a country. But most importantly, because it is a question that perhaps is not pertinent to the first of ESO. However, it could be pertinent to somebody who's studying economics in bachilleratos, or who's gearing to go into business or political sciences, or just as a piece of general knowledge. Now, there's two other examples that I'm going to just put up there, and then we'll be done with the activity and the description of it. The two questions are as follows. How do you get to that country from your city? How much does a flight to the capital cost? Now, perhaps you live in Madrid, and from Madrid, if there's a direct flight, it's a fairly simple question to answer. However, if you live in a small village, then to get to a big city and then take a flight from there is a longer extended answer. This again allows you the time to get some practical vocabulary related to traveling in, and it helps you because if there's only 2 questions, you can actually correct them within the process of the class itself. And finally, you've got, would you like to visit there, or would you like to go there? It's written incorrectly here. So if you ask them all of these questions through going through the list of the 15, there's a fairly enough chance that they know quite a lot of general facts about a country. Now, you can tie in these things by asking them to provide famous people, inventions that came up in this country, Olympic athletes, movies that were made in these countries, and all sorts of cultural elements like food and clothing and behaviors, and including stereotypes, which is normally a fun one, because I asked them, what is an Indian stereotype that you know? And everybody says, oh, Apu on Simpsons. And I was like, okay, yes, there's this one of 1.4 billion people, but there's also me, who's not at all very similar to Apu. So that's where a little bit of contentious answers come in, and it helps people to sort of eliminate those stereotypes if there are any. So, question to everybody, do you understand how the activity works? If you do, please type a yes, which is a Y. All right. Thank you very much for participating once again, Carmen and Almudena. The challenges with this activity online are that because you don't see them, and it takes maybe a couple of questions of yes and no, and do you know the answer to, or if they don't understand the question, they just immediately write, can you repeat that, instead of those code words or letters that we assign them. And it takes a while, but they sort of pick up to it very, very quickly. And some advantages are that you can use them to teach points such as present tense, instructional language in terms of take a ticket, go to this, the city, that is the capital, the nearest big city, let's say, take a flight from, get to the terminus, whichever, etc. And then you can also encourage them to participate, because each group will have a different activity, and you can give individual couple of questions to individual students. That is the end of my activity. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Just type Q in there and I will try and answer the question as we speak. Over to you. So if you have questions, if you don't have any questions, then just simply an extension, NQ, which is no questions. All right. Thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you once again to Almudena for participating. It wouldn't have been
brilliant.
without you.
Thank you. That was really good. And that code system is great, because as we're all of us are working online at the moment, or the great majority of us are, and you know, with so many different classes going on, it's nice to have just like one code that you can use with everyone, and then you don't end up wasting a lot of time. So that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Good. Thank you. So,
all right, that's it for me.
Thank you. So that's the end of all our sessions from today. I've seen that Anna has disappeared off already, so that means that's over to me now to close the session. So thank you all very much for coming today and watching our 3 speakers who did a great job. So that was Taylor, Casey and AD. And then tomorrow, we've got our last session, and we're going to be having Kefra, Sean and Fayola tomorrow. And so hope to see you all again tomorrow. And if not, have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you very much, Claire. Cheers.
Bye.
Hope you're
Bye
doing
then.
well. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care. Susana, ¿estás ahí?
Claire,
Hola, Susana, ¿qué tal? Hoy se han ido muy rápido todos, o sea, que fenomenal.
sí, genial. Bueno, no me ves porque estoy tapada,
Sí,
pero esto
vale, no pasa nada.
o sea que no me puedo quedar.
No pasa nada, vale.
¿Vale?
Muy bien, te dejo. Muy bien, venga, un beso, adiós.